Hi, I'm Becky Streepy from Glue and Glitter, and today we're making mac and cheese. Before developing this recipe for mac and cheese, I used to make my mac and cheese in the very traditional way where I would start with a roux and then use that roux to make a bechamel sauce and then use that as the base for my cheese sauce. That is a deliciously decadent way to make mac and cheese. But what I love about this recipe is that you get that same rich creaminess with a lot less effort and even less time. For this recipe, you do want to use a pot that can go from stovetop to oven. This is a one-pot meal, so the same pot we're using to boil the pasta and make the cheese sauce is the one that we're going to use to bake the mac and cheese. The secret to this recipe is homemade oat milk. You cannot use store-bought oat milk for this recipe. You have to make the oat milk yourself. The reason for that is that the oat milk that we're using is unfiltered. There's no straining. You just throw the oats in the blender with some water and seasonings and blend it up and boom, your oat milk is ready. What you're really making is kind of like a smooth, savory porridge, and that's gonna be the base for your rich, velvety cheese sauce. Before we make any oat milk though, let's get that pasta cooking. As you can see, I'm using elbow macaroni here. You can really use any kind of bite-sized pasta that you like. Shells are great for this, penne is great for this, rotini works really well. Just use whatever you have. You're gonna do 2 cups of elbow macaroni, and for small pasta like that, 2 cups is what you want. If you're going to use something bigger like a penne, go for 2.5 cups. This dish uses one of my favorite methods for adding broccoli to a pasta dish. So instead of cooking the broccoli separately, we're gonna boil it with the pasta. The thing is, you don't need to boil broccoli for as long as you would need to boil pasta, right? So what you're gonna do is cook your pasta according to the package directions, and then when you have 2 minutes of cooking time remaining, add the broccoli to the pot and let it cook for just that last 2 minutes. Your water may not come back to a boil after you add the broccoli, and that's totally fine. The water is still hot enough that the pasta will cook through and your broccoli will cook to like a perfect, crisp, tender texture. When the pasta and broccoli are done cooking, drain them in your colander and set them aside. Now for the sake of this video, I'm doing the oat milk now, but really you can make this oat milk while the pasta and broccoli is cooking. It takes probably 30 seconds to make, and you can totally do it all at the same time. So start with 2 cups of water and then add a 1/4 cup of rolled oats. Then add a tablespoon each of garlic and onion powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then puree that until it's completely smooth. In my high-speed blender, this took less than a minute. If you have a regular blender, that's totally fine. Just blend it for a little bit longer until you have a nice, smooth mix. Return your pot to the stove and then add the oat milk you just made and heat that on medium-high until it thickens. The consistency that you're going for is thinner than pancake batter, but thicker than like a heavy cream. Now it's time to add 2 cups of vegan cheese shreds and make that sauce. As you can see, I'm using vegan cheddar, but you can also use mozzarella or pepper jack. Any vegan shreds that you like are gonna work great in this recipe. The ambient heat from the thickened oat milk should be enough to melt your cheese shreds, but if they are being stubborn, you can turn the stove back on to medium heat to help get it melted the rest of the way. That really depends on the cheese shreds that you're using, and it also depends on how long you had to cook that oat milk to get it to thicken up. Now that that cheese sauce is nice and melty and smooth, it's time to add the macaroni and broccoli back to your pot and then just stir those together until everything's well coated. Now you can bake this as is, but my favorite thing to do lately is top this dish with French fried onions. You can use fried onions that you fry yourself, but I use the French fried onions from a can, like the kind that you would use to top a green bean casserole. It adds a really great umami flavor to your mac and cheese and a little bit of crunch that's such a great contrast to that creamy pasta. Toss your pan into the oven and bake it at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes until those onions are nice and golden brown and the sauce has started to bubble up nicely. Serve this up with your favorite plant-based protein on the side. I like to make it with my chicken fried tofu, or sometimes I'll do air fryer tofu. It really depends on how I'm feeling and how much time I have to prepare my protein. I hope that this video has answered all of your questions about how to make vegan mac and cheese. If you have any questions that I didn't address, feel free to drop a comment. I'm always happy to help. And don't forget to rate and subscribe. Happy cooking!